Hello, and welcome to our Census Strategy Snippet series. I'm Stacey Timmerman, genealogy librarian with the Sandy City Genealogical Society, and I'm really excited about today's snippet. It is a resource that I use often when I'm extracting information from censuses. It just helps me to better understand what I'm looking at and helps me to pull information a little more effectively, a little more efficiently. So let's look at our snippet for the day. It is the Census Bureau Index of Questions website. The URL is posted there on the screen, and it is one that I have bookmarked, and you might want to bookmark it too, because it is a handy tool to use when you are researching through your censuses. So let's look at the website and talk about some of the benefits to using the website. We know that censuses have been used to gather information to gain insights into the changing needs of the nation and to know how to use federal funds to accommodate for growth and change. So that makes sense that these questions that come out through the censuses every 10 years will also change and evolve. And we need to look at this through a historical lens with the perspective of what's going on during this time period that may have influenced why these questions were asked. As we look at this website, the Index of Questions, we can see that there are links to all the different census questions. We're going to bring up the 1940 population census. Right here at the very beginning of each of these links is a quick historical synopsis of the context of this census. So if we're looking at this, it says the 1940 census was the first to include a statistical sample. 5% of the people were asked an additional 16 questions to gauge the effects of the Great Depression as it related to the nation's housing. So that is really relevant when you are looking at the 1940 population census to really understand the context of those questions. So every link has a quick couple of sentences that just kind of gives a background to the historical context of that census, and that's really helpful. Another reason why I like to use the census is that or the index of questions, is when I pull up a census, and here I have the 1920 census, I always pull up the index questions. And that's because if I scroll in and if by chance the questions up top are a little blurry because the quality of the scanned image isn't great, or maybe I just zoom in quite a bit to my focus individual and I don't want to be scrolling up and down to correlate responses with questions, I can have the index questions right there available. They correlate between the number of the question with the column on the census. That's very helpful. Another thing that's very helpful is that for some of these questions, it includes instructions that were given to the enumerators on how to enter the information. For example, if we're looking at column 10, it asks for color or race. It tells the enumerators to enter W for white or B for black and so forth. So if I look over here, I can see column 10, a W was entered, which indicates white for Francis Salzner. This is really helpful, especially if you came across an OT. You're not quite sure what color or race OT would represent. And you can see here that it simply was the instruction to enter for other races otherwise not indicated. And so that's very helpful. Another reason I use the index of questions, and my final reason, is that it's just a very concise one place to find all the questions that have been asked in every census starting from 1790 to 2020. And I'll show you why this was helpful to me. With Francis Salzner, we knew that he had immigrated from Germany to the United States and that he had naturalized. However, I did not know the date of naturalization. And I wanted to quickly find that. I wondered if it had been asked in one of the censuses. I did not want to go through every census step by step. So I just pulled up the index of questions and started just really glancing through the questions to see if something had been asked about naturalization. Here it's asking if a person was naturalized in the 1900 census, but not the year. Again, in 1910, it asked the same question, if the person had naturalized. But here in 1920, we read that in column 14, it asks if a person naturalized, but then in column 15, it's asking the question I'm searching for, if naturalized, what was the year of naturalization, which is exactly why I pulled up this 1920 census. I can scroll over to column 15, and here I see my answer to the question, when did Francis Salzner naturalize? It states here in 1891, which is a very valuable clue to me, and helps me further my search for naturalization documents and records, which is very exciting. So those are some reasons why I use the Index of Questions website. And it's just become very helpful to me and a really great resource. So I hope this snippet helps you a little bit in your search through the censuses. So thank you so much for joining us. Our next week's snippet will be focused on the Census Bureau's Census Instructions website, another really valuable resource. But until the next snippet, good luck in your search.